Hi, my name is Will Shaw, and today I'll be discussing my project, Development Planning for a Research Campus on Coldharbour's Ranch. I've been a fellow with Coldharbour since 2018, and I chose this project after taking a class last spring that involved writing a sustainability plan for Gunnison. I became interested in planning more generally, and this project was a way for me to develop practical skills and knowledge of that field. In this presentation, I will give some background on the history of this project, outline our decision-making process and how certain decisions were made, go over my deliverables, and outline the next steps of the project moving forward. This project is not something I began on my own. Coldharbour has owned and operated the historic ranch 8 miles east of Gunnison since 2015. The following year, MEM student Stephanie Albert conducted a design charrette that brought together community members and stakeholders to determine what was needed to build capacity on the ranch. Much of what we have done in the past year is to determine how exactly to meet these needs effectively and efficiently, how to prioritize land uses, and how to realize our organizational mission in the form of a campus. Why is this project necessary? Coldharbour owns a large piece of property, but at the moment its ability to use the land is limited. By developing the homestead site, we would increase our capacity to host fundraising gatherings, youth camps, and research. Additionally, Coldharbour is a land-based organization, and we want that land to reflect our mission to be a learning laboratory for regenerative practices. Right now, Coldharbour's ranch is over 300 acres of potential. We want to be ambitious in our goal to realize that potential, while maintaining the qualities that draw people to the land in the first place. How do we go about realizing that potential? In 2019, Coldharbour established a homestead committee consisting of myself, MJ Pickett, John LeDuc, and Mike King. We looked at what were established as needs for the homestead site in 2016 and took into account the practical matters of regulation, permitting, and cost while updating the needs to fit Coldharbour's current situation. From there, we established a desire to have a clean slate on the property, began a prioritization process for our land uses, and finally, we started the Gunnison County Land Use Change application. I will come back to this point at the end, but I want to emphasize how this project is at its core a decision-making process. The next few slides will give a broad overview of several decisions that were made in that process. Why a clean slate? Currently, the homestead site has the remains of a variety of unfinished projects, which have become waste materials. For example, the tires pictured on the right of the slide are a hazard during gatherings because they are a habitat for pests. These waste materials also detract from the visual appeal of the location. The site also has several old, unsafe buildings with no clear use. We feel that establishing a clean slate on the property will allow us to more fully realize our visions, rather than working around existing structures that are in the most convenient locations to build. An important part of my project was prioritizing needs on the homestead. The 2016 charrette identified a variety of uses, but envisioned separate buildings for each use, a plan we considered an inefficient use of space. We wanted to build fewer buildings, but have multiple uses in each structure. Our first priority was to have a multi-use structure that could provide space for gatherings, winter use, and water and toilet access. The second priority was housing on the ranch. This will most likely take the form of 3 or 4 small cabins, which would provide housing for fellows and visiting researchers, while also being a demonstration site for sustainable building practices. The final need we identified was research facilities for Western students, stakeholders, and visiting researchers, but the specifics of that facility are still undefined. Much of what I did for my project revolved around the Gunnison County land use change process. In Gunnison County, there are 2 different types of land use changes, major impact and minor impact. Major impact applications are for new developments over 5,000 square feet, and minor impact applications are for new developments under that threshold. Other than the size of the development, the relevant differences for us were the significantly longer timeline and higher costs of major impact projects. Our options were to build as a major impact project a large structure that would include almost all of our proposed land uses, which we referred to as the barn, or a smaller welcome center as a minor impact project, which would address our most pressing needs on a shorter timeline and at a lower cost. We decided to start with the welcome center, which we envision as a 600 square foot structure with an open floor plan that can be used for a variety of purposes. While small, this building will at least provide access to running water and toilets and will open up the ranch for use during the winter months. For this process, we were able to build off of a successful model, the Rocky Mountain Biological Institute. Like Coldharbour, Rumble is a research institution located in Gunnison County with a large amount of land which they have developed into a campus. Their past land use changes are available in the Gunnison County public records. I was able to use those applications and their accompanying documents to have a full list of everything we need to complete the application, proper formatting, and an example of how to justify land use changes to the county based on our mission. One thing I want to emphasize is that this is a multi-year project, and my involvement was only 1 year out of many. We did not get tangible results for me to clearly show in my presentation. We did not start construction or complete the county process. Our committee underestimated how long it would take to make final decisions about uses, and the project timeline did not match my MEM timeline as well as expected. However, I do feel that we moved the project forward significantly over the past year. I delivered to Coldharbour the majority of a minor impact application for the Welcome Center, minus the sections that require architectural drawings. Additionally, I wrote an extensive guide to next steps, which gives Coldharbour a detailed path forward over the next year. It also gives future fellows who may be working on this project an idea of where we have been, what decisions were made during my time working on it, and my recommendations for what to do next. I also submitted relevant contacts, reference documents, and permit applications. To give you some idea what the next year looks like at the ranch, I'd like to go over some of my proposed next steps. Since Coldharbour does not have the funding for this project at the moment, the necessary first step is fundraising. Feel free to visit coldharbour.org/support after my presentation is over. Unfortunately, I am neither an architect nor an engineer, so Coldharbour will also need to hire professionals for the final building and septic designs and to do wetland and floodplain surveys. When those items are completed, Coldharbour can submit its land use change application to the county. If that is done by November or December, Coldharbour should be able to break ground on the Welcome Center when the snow has melted next year. After the Welcome Center is built, there are a variety of decisions Coldharbour will have to make about the property. One of these decisions is whether to continue building structures that do not break the major impact threshold or to build the barn-like structure I mentioned earlier. One thing to consider here is that Coldharbour will be able to use its Welcome Center application as a template for future land use changes, which may speed up the process down the line. A major impact application would be less familiar and straightforward. Additionally, Coldharbour needs to decide whether to build a large septic system which would meet the wastewater demand for all proposed structures into the future, or to initially build a smaller system to meet the needs of the Welcome Center and then modify it with future developments. This is essentially a decision between high upfront costs and multiple permitting processes. This presentation is a brief representation of about 1 year of work in a long-term project. I feel that my work on this project has been fairly unique in the context of the MEM. The knowledge that I would not see this project fully realized during my time at Western at times made this project difficult, and I had to constantly remind myself of the scale of the project. This is also a project that was defined by constant collaboration and discourse. What I wanted to convey in this presentation is that my project was mainly a decision-making process for long-term planning. It created no data, and it will not be published, but I think having a deep understanding of the process of planning a project like this will be beneficial for me in the future and for Coldharbour as an institution going forward. I'd like to end by thanking everyone listed here, from Butch Clark, who funded a large chunk of my degree, to the folks down at the Gunnison County Clerk and Recorder's Office, who very patiently explained how their filing system works when I did my document scavenger hunts. At this point, you can close your YouTube video, return to Zoom, and if my internet is working, I'll answer some questions. Thank you.